All right, so today's a really cool episode. I want to break down 10 of the laziest ways to make money on Etsy. So you can make money on Etsy doing kind of the bare minimum. I'm talking post a few products, maybe refresh your shop a couple of times a year, and then sit back and get some orders and watch the orders trickle in. The trick to all this is you just have to know which strategy matches where you are as a seller. And by the way, lazy doesn't mean sloppy or easy. The strategies I'm going to share with you today are actually smarter than what most sellers are doing, starting with methods for absolute beginners and ending with things only experienced shop owners can pull off. And in case you don't know, I am an Etsy seller myself, coach. I've managed to make almost $600,000 on my best-selling shop. I've had several shops over the years. And my goal is to help you guys get some similar results, make more sales, and have less frustrations, which is why I am doing this. So let's dive in to the first strategy here. This is broken out. Just make sure you stay to the end. I have all these strategies to go through, so you don't want to miss these strategies and make sure that you can start implementing this stuff in your shop. So the first one, diving right in, is turning on Etsy ads, but doing it the right way. So this is a beginner move, but also a beginner mistake because once your listings are active, you can toggle on Etsy ads with just a couple of clicks. Now, the thing that you have to be mindful of is doing this when you're ready and not doing it too early, because a lot of people think that ads equals sales, right? And it can be the case, but if your shop isn't set up correctly, if your listings aren't set up correctly, if you don't have the right keywords in your listings, you're just going to be throwing money into a fire, right? You're going to be, crapping your money away, which is what we don't want to do, because it's just going to amplify what you're doing. And if you're doing bad stuff, it's going to amplify that. If you're doing good stuff, it's going to amplify that. So it can be a good way and an easy way to make additional sales if you're doing it at the right time. So just make sure you're not doing it too early, that you have a good foundation before you try that. But is it lazy? Is it easy? Yeah, sure, definitely is. All right, so the second strategy that we have for you is replicate your best sellers, right? So instead of constantly inventing and trying to come up with new products, take the ones that sell the most and create slight variations or slight tweaks. So try to get more bang for your buck. So maybe you can, change the sizes, change the variations, change the colors, have seasonal versions. So think about how you can get more out of what is already doing well and follow those breadcrumbs. Now, if you don't have any best sellers yet, which listings are starting to get traffic? What can you do? Can you do more of that? Maybe you're just missing the mark. And there is a time element to this. So it does take time to start getting sales. You have to get traffic first, the traffic will build, and then slowly you will get sales, right? So if you're starting to follow those, what's working, what's starting to do well, and do more of that, that's a good recipe for success. It's the same thing on like social media, repeating and reposting viral content. It works the same way with e-commerce. All right, so strategy number 3 is upsell with bundles and variations. All right, so this is a really good one. So this is a great way to basically get more sales, more revenue for your item. So if you have, if you sell a candle, right? If you sell one candle, hopefully you guys can see this. It's not colored. Let me change the color here. All right. So if you sell a candle, this is a candle, right? And what you can do then, all right, so this candle is like $15. So can you pair this with another candle, right? This one's $15. So maybe you then create this 2 candle set, and instead of $30, because it's $15 each, maybe you do it for $25, or you can do a 3 candle bundle set, right? And then you tweak the pricing a little bit. So, can you do different variations, or can you do different bundles to get more revenue for your listings? Plus, more revenue for your products. Plus, it gives you more listing opportunities because you can then create more listings for bundles and sets. All right, that brings us to strategy number 4, brand collaborations. One can be a little bit more advanced, and it can be done so many different ways. So you can possibly partner with different brands or companies that sell similar products related to your niche. Just an example is maybe there's a yarn supplier or a crochet or a candle fragrance companies for candle makers. Maybe you can create some type of collaboration that you can post on like social media, or maybe you can bundle their product with yours, or maybe you can offer a discount code for them in exchange for free supplies or payment. It's a good way to get featured. So I see this more as a like get featured play rather than necessarily leveraging their products, but it may be a way to kind of work out some type of partnership or something like that, especially if you have like a supplier. There may be something that you can do there. So just think outside of the box. Again, that may be a little bit more advanced, but there's a lot of people using and leveraging that. Strategy number 5, this one's a really good one. Repurpose content everywhere. So if you are marketing outside of Etsy, which again, this is maybe not something you want to do right away, but down the road you may want to do this. You can start to repurpose content everywhere and get 5 times the reach. And you can even share within Etsy itself. You have your listing here, right? That's already done. You already spent a lot of time, hopefully, on it with the keywords and pictures and all that stuff. All right, so you have a couple of options here. The keywords and the listings and your shop is going to get you set up, hopefully, for success for Etsy traffic, right? So you're going to sit back and hopefully Etsy traffic is going to start to come, which is great. You can make a lot of sales and a lot of money on that alone. But if you want to start to drive your own traffic, build your own brand, you can repost your listing on Facebook. You can repost it on Pinterest. You can do a TikTok about it. And there's ways to make this a little bit easier. And again, this is very time consuming. This could take time away from your shop. So I wouldn't focus on this right away. But down the road, you may want to send traffic back to your shop through these means, because you're posting these channels, you're going to get more traffic back to these listings. So, and if you're going to do this, definitely use some type of platform to make it easier on yourself. There's a lot out there. I'm really liking Repurpose.io. That's a really strong platform to repurpose content, and AI is making it a lot easier. So that's a whole video in itself on the different things that you guys can do to help get more content out there a lot easier. And there's a lot of cool tools and things like that. You got to be aware of the shiny ball syndrome, because it's easy to kind of distract you from the things that really matter. And the things that really matter outside of all this is just being consistent in your shop. But these strategies will definitely help. So that is number 5. Real quick before we jump into number 6, if you need help implementing these strategies, you need help with SEO, you need help with finding product trends, you need help with improving your shop, you need support, you need motivation, you guys can get all that. Etsy Games VIP program. This is my program. Right now, you can get in there for free. After that's just $10 a month. Similar programs are thousands of dollars. I didn't want to make it hard for you to join a really good program. I could easily sell this for hundreds or thousands of dollars with all the courses in here. We do live group coaching calls. I do your SEO for you. I help give you product trends. I answer questions every single day. I try to motivate you. I try to inspire you. And this is a fun, safe, non-spammy, weird Facebook group type thing. It's not like that at all. People are in here, all like-minded people. So if you want to join that, there is a link below. You will get a lot of help with your business. You'll get a lot of support, a lot of motivation. And if you don't want to take advantage of this, that's cool too. No big deal. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to put it out there. All right. So that brings us back to the strategies here. And here is number 6, sell digital products, right? So the perk of selling digital products is there's no packaging, no post office runs, no inventory. So you can create printables, SVG files, patterns, templates, or stock photos that people can download. They sell while you're asleep. It's completely passive once you put up the initial listings. Well, somewhat passive. I don't want to say nothing is really passive, right? You got to go back. You got to monitor stuff. You got to tweak stuff. So it's not really passive, but it could be somewhat passive, right? I don't want to tell you you're going to be able to, sip Mai Tais on the beach and just have all your stuff sell. So this is something that you can either open an entire digital product shop, or you can add in digital products to your current niche. So think about your audience and what you sell. Can you create digital products in addition to physical products? So that's always a good strategy too, to help kind of leverage the things that you can do on the platform. Number 7 is going to be sell in high value niches. So especially if you're a newer seller, when you're starting out, this should be part of your research process. Not all niches are equal, not all categories are equal. So you want to try and get in a more high value niche, or at a minimum, introduce higher value items, products into what you're selling that targets the same niche. So kind of think about that. There's a lot of things that you can do there. So some examples of high value niches are wedding products, billion-dollar industry, personalized gifts. That's huge. Etsy's really pushing that hard. Furniture and home decor, high-end jewelry. So a good way to think about this is selling one $200 product is a lot easier than selling 20 $10 items in some cases, right? Especially if you're making the stuff, it's less work. So can you get in one of these niches, or can you introduce some higher value products for your niche to target on? So that's just something to think about. Strategy number 8, sell a mini course or guide, right? So if you're been doing your craft a long time, you can create a PDF guide or a course teaching others how to do it. So this is something like if you do handmade jewelry and you've been doing it for years, you could do a guide on how to create certain types of jewelry. You could do maybe a candle making starter guide, or how to make candles, or how to create different sensors, things like that. And you could sell that with your candles, you can sell these guides, because people that are buying your stuff, some of them could definitely be interested in candles and wanting to make candles. So it's just something to keep in mind. And this kind of goes back to the other strategy of creating digital products. This could be a nice digital layer to your business. And if they do well, it could maybe take over your business. So just something to think about. Number 9, personalization, right? So this is a big one. And there are a lot of sellers doing really well with adding personalization options into their listings. So, and you don't have to do this. So personalization, I know a lot of people think like, okay, this is going to create a lot of time, but you can do it a little bit smarter than just allowing people to personalize everything. So you can do semi-personalized products where 80 to 90% of the item is pre-made, and then you just charge for the 1 to 2 elements for each order, right? So like an example would be if you have a digital wall art print with a floral border and a space for like a name, then people just give you their name. You add that, you already have the border done. Or a leather keychain with a spot for initials, and then boom, you allow people to personalize it and add in their initials. Plus you can just add in your own designs as well. So you offer the normal products, and then you offer the personalization products, and the options are really endless, right? If you already have the product where you can create kind of the blank, then you can allow people to add in their own words, their own names, and you give samples, right? You want to give people ideas, but each one of those personalization options is a different listing that you can put up there with the options. You can put up name personalization keychain, or design personalization keychain. There's 1,000 different things that you can do there, and it really opens the door. And personalized stuff is really, really popular, and it's just going to get more popular. And finally, that brings us to strategy number 10, which is document your product and brand journey. So one of the easiest and most effective ways to build brand trust and attract buyers is pull back the curtain and let your audience see what goes on behind the scenes. So maybe you want to, and this is really powerful for if you have a blog or if you have social media. A lot of people are like, well, what do I share? Most people will just share their products, right? Like, here's my candle, buy my candle. Here's my keychain, buy my keychain. Here's my art, buy my art. That's not really telling a story, and that's not really going to do well on social media. So if you show yourself making it, or coming up with the concept, coming up with the design, creating the product, showing mistakes, showing your mess ups, showing the times that you ruined something, that stuff will go a long way. It'll show that you're a real person. It'll give people a journey to follow, and the algorithms love that stuff. And it creates content for social media. It creates content for your blogs. It creates behind the scenes photos that you can put in your listings, in your shop sections, in your about section. So that is something that if you want and you're struggling with what content to post and you want to send traffic back to your shop and actually create a brand, again, this is more advanced, but this is going to give you a target. Just like selling on Etsy, you should have a particular niche, which is your beacon. It's a guide to follow. You should have the same thing and the same strategy, content strategy with social media and with marketing. Who is your audience, who are you serving, and what story are you telling? What journey are you following, right? And that's going to really go a long way than just posting random stuff. So think about it like that. So those are the 10 strategies. Hopefully that helps you guys out as following, to give you some insight and some paths to follow. Some are easier than others, but most of the successful shops are doing these every single day. So hopefully you guys can implement these sooner than later in your shop. Again, if you want to join, hop over and join Etsy Games VIP. There's a link below. I'd love to see you guys in there. Outside of that, I'll be back with some more good stuff for you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day.